Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Thomas. It's hey, folks that know me, there's two things in my schedule I look at. I label everything in my schedule is a treat or a chore. And honestly, working Dr. Thomas with you and Mike and y'all's entire team across the entire Piedmont chapter score is always a treat. And guys, thanks for zooming in because here's the thing. Anytime I get a chance to speak with folks who are looking to start a business, that's always a treat for me as well. So looking forward to representing our statewide consortium team here, about a half hour to 40 minutes with you today, and also representing my direct team. So really, as Dr. Thomas mentioned, I kind of changed the title up a little bit. Yeah, this is really the steps of starting a business, but hey, I went with this one. It's partnering for success, starting a business, because really I'm representing our friends at SCORE as well as my teammates at the SBDC. And here's the headline. Before we jump into this thing, here's the headline. Our friends at SCORE and my teammates at the SBDC are not mutually exclusive. We're designed for you to leverage us in support of what you're trying to accomplish relative to our respective scopes of work. So I'm looking forward to, again, just kind of being a guest speaker on this particular program on behalf of our friends at SCORE, and then speaking on our behalf from a statewide perspective of the Small Business Development Center. So with that said, our game plan today is very straightforward. We're going to accomplish three things together. Here's the thing. If we're just going to take care of kind of basic introductory type level issues, want you to understand more about who we are, what we do, and why we do that relative to our SBDC, our South Carolina Small Business Development Centers, and also speak a little more, as Dr. Thomas mentioned, regarding our friends at Piedmont SCORE. So we're going to take care of that. And then, and I'm going to drill down a lot more relative to expectations and how we come about our work from an SBDC perspective. I'll also layer in knowledge that any working knowledge I have relative to parallel components of our friends at SCORE. So I'm going to take care of that, and we'll accomplish that. Yeah, thanks for muting there, Janelle. Appreciate that. So the other thing then, why we got you here, because we feel like that's a tremendous value add. So awareness of supporting resources, and then we're going to make what I look at as a professional courtesy. Janelle, if you could mute on your end, that would be great. Thank you so much. And so then, if we're looked at as, quote, the experts in the space that you would consider leveraging for starting a business the right way here in South Carolina, I feel like it's a professional courtesy is due for us to give you a 60,000 foot view of the process that we lean into and to make the case for it. And then we're going to conclude with just a few minutes of, okay, how do you move forward? How do you take advantage of collaborating with the support resources available through SCORE and the SBDC if you so choose to? And here's the thing, again, they're not mutually exclusive, guys. I'd suggest wrap all the love, all the support around you and leverage that. There's no cost for you to do that other than you putting in the work and the energy. That's it. There's no financial cost for you to accomplish that. Okay, so as we get started, first thing, a little more about who we are, what we do, and our expectations of you and what you could expect from us at SBDC and SCORE. But before I do that, just to tee it up, let me kind of walk you through why we exist. Well, here's the thing. If you think about the impact of the for-profit small business sector nationwide and specifically here in South Carolina, here's the reality. It's the latest SBA Office of Advocacy data. Over 42.5% of the private sector workforce here in South Carolina is attributed to the folks that take the risk to build small businesses. It's attributed to the small businesses here in South Carolina. Over 42.5% of the private sector workforce right here in South Carolina. It's a little over 43% nationwide. So think about that just from a work perspective. full employment goal perspective. Think about the impact on that. Also think as consumers, we all consume goods and services. We have a whole life. Think about what our communities, what our lives would be, if you would, without the vibrancy, the convenience, the options that our small businesses bring to us each and every day, just as consumers. So if we think about that, it's all about quality of life. In the 1970s, the odds were extremely dire for a small business to found itself here in the U.S. from scratch, from start, and then celebrate an anniversary a decade away. Here's the thing, it's still a daunting challenge with all the support resources available. Much better now, but it's about a flip of the coin. Again, Office of Advocacy, SBA, deep dive data, year over year trending. Here's the thing, it's about a flip of the coin probability. A business started 5 years ago in the U.S. is still an operational business today, 5 years later, about 50-50. It's about a flip of the coin of those 50% that survived after 5 years, that they'll be here in another 5, operational, healthy. So when you put the math together, it's somewhere between 30 and 25% is what you're looking at. A business that started here in the U.S. 10 years ago is still with us here today. Well, think about the impact on the quality of life, and that's much better than it had been. So really in the 1970s, there was an initiative put forward through the U.S. Congress that stood up support resources. And in our Small Business Development Center, as an economic development support resource, was created and offered then to any state, and now that extends to official U.S. territories as well at this point in time, who would make an investment. So it requires, our funding starts on the federal side, and then it requires a dollar per dollar match. And typically here in South Carolina, we took advantage of this opportunity in support of the for-profit small businesses, again, that create over 42.5, that really house over 42.5% of the private sector workforce here in the state. To make that investment is part of the economic development infrastructure here in South Carolina. So we stood our center up. Our South Carolina Small Business Development Centers was established and chartered here in South Carolina in 1979. So that's kind of our story. SCORE has a broader history. That initiative of national volunteers who have practical, extensive, likely experience in various industries across the various sectors was actually came to be in the 1950s, and they've evolved over time. And so again, we each have a role. Here's the thing, understand this. If again I share some odds, it might be a little bit daunting to you. All right, let's don't think about that yet. Think about this, understanding what are those key challenges that prevent over 7 out of 10 businesses that started 10 years ago from being here now. What are those key challenges? And then we can understand, again, how the support resources can come to bear for you as an option to leverage, to mitigate, and manage those challenges the best you can. Well, it's found in market feasibility issues, lack of really understanding who the market is, therefore a compelling what sets you apart from all the other options that you're competing against. And then there's business model integrity from a standpoint of the numbers. Can I actually build a business around this idea that can compete for space in the market and still hit the numbers that I need to make my model work for me as the owner and for everybody else that actually has a hand in the business? So that's critical to understand. And then lack of adequate capitalization on the front end, and then lack of management and leadership skill set, perhaps kind of bringing up. This is long-term year-over-year deep dive data that we find from, again, our friends at the SBA Office of Advocacy. So understanding that, Now we can understand why the SBA administers the funding for our national network of small business development centers, and why they at the SBA administer and put some infrastructure around our friends at SCORE. And so just think about it that way. In regards to our friends at SCORE, I'm speaking to you. Our upstate chapter of SCORE is really the Piedmont chapter of SCORE, and SCORE was the acronym at one time for the Service Corps of Retired Executives. Well, here's the thing. I'd put our chapter of SCORE in the upstate, this Piedmont chapter, against anybody. These guys have been recognized in a national setting for being an outstanding chapter of SCORE. You won't find more dedicated community leaders and servants than you're going to find with Dr. Thomas and Mike and their entire team that represent the Piedmont chapter of SCORE. So they're part of a national network that's over 10,000 volunteers strong at this point. They're dedicated fully to the support of small businesses. They are allowed by the SBA to assist with small local nonprofit entities as well. And that's a little bit of a distinction between SCORE and our SBDC, as we are focused 100% typically on for-profit small business. So again, a support resource administered through the U.S. Small Business Administration, being our friends at SCORE. This is a SCORE program. Our friends invited me to be a guest speaker today, and I'm happy to do that. And again, the headline is, we're not mutually exclusive. We are designed for you to leverage and provide various competencies around your needs as you're getting your arms around how to best build a business for yourself here in South Carolina. About our SBDC, well, again, our South Carolina Small Business Development Centers, and this is the entity that I am representing here today. And I'm going to paint a cursor over the bottom left. This is our statewide logo branding, our South Carolina SBDC, if you look at it that way. Again, we're part of a national network of accredited small business development centers. Think of us as an economic development support resource, and we are 100% dedicated, again, to the support of the for-profit small businesses here in South Carolina through the federal match funding that I spoke of previously. And again, it requires that state match. Our friends who represent our interests in Columbia and our friends who represent our interests as taxpayers in Washington have to make an adult decision every annual budget cycle as to whether or not they're going to invest in this specific economic development support resource. Thanks to our client impact, and I'll speak to in just a minute, that return on investment to the taxpayer has been there. It has been there. So here's what I would say, as you guys are considering leveraging us at the SBDC, just understand, again, we have a role in the economic development infrastructure, from an economic development infrastructure perspective here in South Carolina. We are a practical and proven support resource. And here's the thing. We are not a government program giveaway. We are truly an impactful component of support for you. And we're not designed to be a profit center, but we have been. If you look at our trending data, looking at affirmed economic impact and the revenues coming back then to the coffers here in South Carolina, there has been an impressive return on investment to the taxpayer. So we're proud of that, being able to leverage our expertise as we do, and to the benefit of the taxpayer. Really, it's been a positive return investment on behalf of the state through the impactful progress that our clients are making out throughout the state here in South Carolina. Our funding through the for the SBDC side requires that federal grant. It actually requires a host entity that has infrastructure designed to leverage expertise to the users, to the practitioners, to the business owners, to you. in the field who are committed to building businesses the right way here in South Carolina. We're fortunate that our host that stepped up from the inception of the SBDC in South Carolina to today are still intact as a four-host consortium partnership. That's my employer at Clemson University and the teammates I'm representing direct, and then my teammates I'm representing statewide through our counterparts at the SC State, University of South Carolina, and Winthrop University. So we take a lot of pride in our partnership together and representing our state with one voice under one consortium team. So that said, again, our SBDC, our mission is very straightforward. We exist to advance our state's economy by helping entrepreneurs grow successful businesses. Again, our focus is exclusive to for-profit small businesses, no matter what stage you're in. And again, the economic impact is there. Again, that return on investment to the taxpayer. We didn't design that or do the math. That's an independent third party looking at that, but it has been a positive return to the taxpayer if you look over the past 5 years trending data. And here's the other thing. We've served as a statewide team, over 33,200 small businesses over the past 5 years to the impact of over 13,300 jobs. And here's the thing, and I ask you guys, if you don't mind, just mute on your end, that would be great. And then we'll invite you to unmute. And if you got some, we'd love to speak with you at the end of this presentation. So here's the thing, at the SBDC, by internal goal, our focus is a little more skewed toward healthy existing businesses who are committed to expanding right here in South Carolina. But even at that, we're here to support a business at any stage. And that could be likely where you are, given the topic today of steps to starting a business, what we call pre-venture side of it. Maybe you haven't quite started yet, or maybe you're just getting started. You just want to make sure you didn't miss anything. You kind of came at it the right way. And that. So that said, again, our statewide team has been part of assisting over 1,000 new businesses start here in South Carolina just over the past 5 years alone. So our featured services, really from an SBDC perspective, I think of it as 3 lanes of service. Professional business development consulting is our primary touch point. Most of our value add to our clients is through professional consulting. And then we're also charged with introducing for consideration professional development, client-facing training opportunities that may complement your needs, and then looping in complementary support resources to be leveraged based on your needs if that need is beyond our expertise or outside of our scope of work. So think of it that way. Here's the thing. From a consulting perspective, again, that's the bulk of our value add touch point to you. So our value proposition to you is professional small business development consulting. What does that entail, Ben? Well, if it's a leadership, management, or ownership issue, I suggest we could be a first touch point. And when I say we, that could be your SBDC, and also SCORE could serve in that role as well. Here's the deal. Think about us as specialty consultants on retainer. The only difference is you don't pay us. As a matter of fact, it would be improper if anybody on our team or on SCORE's team ever asked or insinuated that you owed a fee. That would be highly improper. So think of us that way. To me, we should be your first touch point. If it's in our scope of work, we have a process to serve you through professional consulting protocol. If it's not, again, we are charged with looping in complementary support resources that meet your needs, and we would have a conversation with you on that. If you're thumbs up, then we would make that introduction and assist you to move forward. So think of it that way. Leadership, management, ownership, doesn't matter. To me, we should be your first touch point. The topic could be strategic, long-term, big picture in nature, drilling down all the way through the downstream strategies to those tactical decisions that need to be made to put those actions actually in play, and the operational infrastructure to support the quality, integrity of your entity operationally over time. So again, those topics anywhere in that spectrum, we lean heavily into collaborative planning. That's our means of operation. Okay, so think of it collaborative planning. So we lean heavily into that, and I'm going to speak to that a little more in just a minute. Here's our thing: our goal isn't to talk you off the ledge or onto the or off the ledge or into the pool. It isn't. Our goal really is to inform you such that you can make a more clear decision as the risk taker, whether or not you're going to proceed with a startup or if you're an existing business, proceed with a specific expansion opportunity. It's as simple as that. And that's the way we come at this work. And so if you think about it in that way, unless you're going to fund an entry or a startup, if you would, or an expansion strategy 100% by yourself, then typically you would need some access to capital support around you. So all the work we've done to meet our goal is to, again, inform you to make the best possible decision you can make for yourself and your family, given the project that you envision. And then the byproduct of that is typically needed in support of access to capital, whether you're seeking a small business loan or an equity partner. So you end up with what you need on that end, but in our mind, you need to be informed and make the right decision for yourself first before you drill it down to requesting outside capital. So again, it doesn't matter if you're looking to start, grow, or prepare a healthy business for optimal exit, then we're here in support. When I say we, again, that's my teammates at our SBDC and our friends at SCORE. We each have a role. And we're not mutually exclusive. We also have specialty services. I'm not going to drill into those at this particular point in time, because whomever's leading our relationship with you, when it's applicable to you and your project scope, they will actually leverage those specialties. We also have a broad vetted support resource complement that are external to us. And again, those are ones we lean into and leverage to support you as needed when your needs are outside of our scope of work. So really, our conditions are very straightforward. I laid that out from an SBDC perspective. And here's the same thing with SCORE. It's all about professional consulting, no cost, confidential manner. No cost and confidential manner. We also, both SCORE and our SBDC, offers professional, client-facing professional training. No and low cost options. And then we both, again, SBDC and SCORE, loop in complementary support resources for your consideration as needed. What we ask of you is very straightforward, and that's a commitment to collaborate. Without your collaboration, there's no value to you. Ben Franklin said, "Tell me and I'll forget. Teach me, I'll remember. But involve me and I'll learn." We're going to involve you. We're going to serve you the way you deserve to be served and the way our brands deserve to be represented. We're going to involve you. Again, it's going to be a collaborative effort. And again, that's how you're going to best grow as a business owner. And that's how you're going to best position yourself to make the best decision that you can for you, given what you can know. And so that's what we're going to need. We're going to need you to understand and commit to collaborate. I say it like this: Dr. Thomas, myself, our teammates, we're not going to dance for you, but we will dance with you. And honestly, there'll be a lot of the process that we suggest we lead the dance based on our role. And so we'll be really clear about what that is as we move forward. We also ask that you be responsive to client satisfaction surveys. Our friends at SCORE would want to get that feedback from you. You'll recognize those requests through a SCORE email address. But also our friends at the SBDC would like that feedback. So when you're working with us, our emails, our surveys come from a very specific address. I'm painting that with my cursor now. And so if you guys do move forward, register with us, and we'll get you started. And again, this is just something that we would expect that you would provide us a professional courtesy of being responsive to that. And honestly, whoever's leading our work with you, we need to capture that economic impact when you celebrate certain milestones, like when you do start your business or when you do make an investment in the business, when you add a job, when you grow in sales. So again, that's on us to identify that through our relationship with you, and then we keep it really simple. We provide typically an email for your confirmation, and it takes about 3 seconds to 5 seconds for you to lay eyes on that and simply respond that you confirm if you agree with the language that we meet the standard in that. So again, who we are, what brought us together today. First huge value add was to introduce you to support resources that are complementary, not mutually exclusive, through our friends at the Piedmont Chapter SCORE and also through our Small Business Development Center. That's really what I've focused on. So that was objective one. Now we're going to shift the conversation. This to me is more of a professional courtesy. Again, if we're considered the experts in the space of starting and building a business the right way in South Carolina, to me, we owe it to you to show you the process that we lean into and just spend a few minutes to make the case on it. Here's the thing, and then we're going to button up with just a couple minutes to go on the back end, just kind of be clear about what you can do now if you want to take advantage of our friends at SCORE and my teammates here at the SBDC. Here's the thing. I look at it like this. Our process from the standpoint of starting a business or even expanding one, quite frankly, is akin to the old carpenter's rule. Measure twice and cut once if you cut at all. Measure twice, cut once if you cut at all. This initial feasibility, initial measure, to me is kind of low-hanging fruit. What can you get your arms around quickly to assess if it appears you kind of got at least the basic components may be there for you to move forward and actually start a business that has some reasonable probability of succeeding. What is the low-hanging fruit? Well, that's something we want to assess on the front end. Before we ask you to collaboratively spend another 10, 15, 20 hours on the project, and expect the same of our teammates in support of you. If you're going to get to a no, it's best to get to a no in a hurry. Then you can focus on something else that might align with what's driving you. So that's really the way the process, it's iterative by design. And so there is an initial feasibility assessment touch point for you guys that then meet those checkpoint cues or test points. Then there's a deeper dive. That's the second measure before you cut or if you cut. And in this case, before you actually launch the business. This is going to take more time, energy, and effort from you. It's a deeper dive, touch point. And it's going to take more time, energy, effort from our teammates in support of you. So again, this kind of progression is laid out in gated phases, initial feasibility, and then full development of the plan to give a final test of the project as designed, just from a standpoint of stress testing against the relative to the assumptions that can be known. And again, we lead that process, but you are highly involved, and it requires that to serve you the right way. And then if you decide to go and begin with the process, we're going to stick with you. Our friends at SCORE, they'll be right there with you, and our friend and my teammates will be with you as you actually implement the project. Make sure you get everything buttoned up the right way, as each state then has some specific requirements typically that could be a little different. Just want to make sure you get it buttoned up the right way from a business perspective as well as regulatory licensing, those types of things. And I'm planting the seed now. We really encourage you to stick with us, SCORE and the SBDC, over the lifetime of your business. Your needs are going to change as that business changes and grows, and we are positioned to stick with you at every phase of the journey. I've been in this. I migrated to our work at our center here at Clemson in our statewide consortium in 1998. I was a banking officer prior to that, and I've been migrated into this space. I say that to say this: I've got clients that I've been working with for 20 years who are still in business. I've got a lot of them that I work with to start a business and all the way through successful exit and sell and cashing out and then realizing the wealth behind the business, behind all the risk and the energy and effort they put into it. So again, we're designed as entities to be a relational support resource for you. And I challenge you to commit yourself to being a strategic manager of what you're building from day one, and we can assist you in that space. A little more about where you likely are now. Again, this is kind of initial feasibility assessment. To me, it's a lot about personal readiness issues, and then some practical initial feasibility considerations. And then there's just some basic business concepts. So if you break it down this way, it's very straightforward. If you choose to work and leverage with our SBDC through our Clemson, if you're in the upstate, then we have a preliminary feasibility assessment form. This provides on one page kind of the base concepts that we're looking to probe around, again, personal readiness and initial feasibility considerations and basic business concept. This is going to take you less than 20 minutes. This is low-hanging fruit. You're going to know this off the top of your head. We're asking you to spitball some stuff if there's any numbers involved. This ballpark, again, this is low-hanging fruit, light depth measure. Light depth measure. See where we are. And then that sets us up to have the best teammate meet you exactly where you are in the process and being fully prepared when they meet you there to address your specific needs and relative to your personal situation as well as inflection point of the process. And so it's a very straightforward type of thing. What we're asking for, again, at this level, through our preliminary feasibility assessment, it's in layman terms. You guys, you're not going to need any questions asked about that. Maybe one. And this is what we phrased as cost of no regrets. This is really important, though, guys. Here's the thing. What I'm asking for when I say cost of no regrets is this: how much would you rather invest and fail and lose rather than having the regret of not trying because you feel like this is part of your calling, you feel like this is part of your purpose, you feel like this is part of your path that you should be on? What is that number? And I'm going to ask you to think about it, sleep on it, think about it. What is that number? If you fail, you're okay. Your family's okay. It's important for us to serve you at the level you deserve to be served, for you to have clarity on what that number is. And then we can arm the consultant and the mentor that'll be working with you to understand where your cap is. And then really what our goal is at that point is to collaboratively work with you to keep you within your comfort zone of risk, your risk tolerance for now, as we explore an entry strategy around that. So your entry strategy may end up being more of a lean start than you envision. But again, if that's what's appropriate to you, we need to come at it that way. We need to come at it that way. I've had folks through the years say, Ben, failure's not an option. Here's the thing, guys. We're not making a movie here. We're not creating a work of fiction. This is reality that we're stepping into, and you don't hold all the cards. You can only do what you do. You can only control what you can control. So again, please lean into our expertise and our experience that, again, there's a lot of institutional knowledge. If you look at our score and our SBDC across the landscape, leverage that. And I would challenge you to think about it in an adult, sober manner. What is that cost? If you say, Ben, I'm good, I would rather risk up to this put my best foot forward, working with you guys and our friends at SCORE, and fail rather than the regrets of not trying because I feel like this is something I'm supposed to do. What is that number? It's going to be different for everybody on the call. What is your number? What is your number? So again, give that some serious thought. Give it some serious thought, and then we will be armed with that to serve you at a much higher level if you can help us. And again, it's going to be different. So take some time, really think about that. That's something that I will really be pushing you and our teammates will really push you on. So once you're through the initial feasibility assessment work, then we build upon that. And this is a much deeper dive. You're talking about really high level market intelligence support to help you assess frontline market feasibility issues at a much deeper dive level. You're talking about financial modeling. Our team would perform that, and on your behalf, there's no cost. I call it stress testing the model as designed. So we can take your business as envisioned at that point based on the latest assumptions that have been developed collaboratively. And then we can stress test that to basic small business underwriting standards to see if the business model is viable from that perspective. Again, what were those key headwinds that create failure for over 7 out of 10 businesses that start in the U.S.? If you define success as celebrating a 10-year anniversary, it was around market feasibility, and then it was about financial feasibility, the integrity, the financial integrity of the business model. Okay, and so that's again, that's why the process is designed to really push down and assess best we can those two breakpoints. And so again, doing what we do, just through the process, you're going to end up with a comprehensive plan that you would need to leverage and utilize if you're looking for capital beyond your personal capital to stand up your business. So again, the old carpenter's rule, measure twice, cut once. We had an initial feasibility assessment. We're assuming that's where everybody is now. We would start there. And then that would progress. If we don't hit a no there, that can't be mitigated, then it's a much deeper dive assessment. That's going to take a lot more time, energy from you, a lot more time, energy from us, and complementary support resource components. And then if you decide to move forward, you really need what I call a pre-launch activity plan. You need to understand what things you need to do and in what order you need to do it. And every state can be a little different in this thing. So we leverage our friends at the South Carolina Business One Stop. I'm thinking the State Department of Labor and Licensing is managing that particular tool at this point here in South Carolina. But again, we leverage that to make sure you don't miss anything. And then there's some practical business applications that are embedded in our process. We prefer that you consider a soft launch just to make sure there's no leaks before you open your spigot full bore. And so very practical and proven approach. And then we encourage you, especially on the front end, you're going to need to have eyes on what's going on to refine. And you'll have a lot more refinement typically to do on the front end of a business opening than you would in a year from now, than you would in 2 and 3 years from now. So it just kind of makes sense along those lines. And then lastly, again, we encourage you to think about committing yourself to being a strategic manager of your business from day zero, from today. What does that mean? That means building this thing based on what you're trying to accomplish for yourself, end goal, relative to what you've got to work with, keeping yourself within your tolerance for risk all along the way. That's strategic in nature. That's very intentional, and it's very strategic. It's proactive. We encourage you to become a master of the strategic management process. Our folks have an understanding around the process. And it doesn't matter, again, where you are in your business, we encourage you to adopt that mentality from now. even before you actually start the business, all the way through. It will serve you well, trust me. And then at some point, if you make a decision to grow the business, then you will be well positioned to manage that growth in an optimal manner such that you don't grow too fast, get a little ahead of your skis, and grow yourself into a bind. We see that quite often. So again, this is just setting yourself up for success. So coming down the stretch, and then we're just going to invite folks on camera and unmute, but I'm coming down the stretch of our time. Again, we have 3 objectives in our game plan today. Introduce who we are, what we do, and why. And our terms are very agreeable. There's never a cost for leveraging consulting support from my teammates at the SBDC and our friends at SCORE, ever. It's free and it's confidential. And so we are available to assist you at any stage, and that includes where you likely are now on the front end of starting a business, given the topic of our conversation is steps to starting a business. And then secondly, what brought us together is to kind of give you an overview of the process we advocate for starting a business and why. That was a professional courtesy. And now the third and final thing we wanted to accomplish is just a few words on what next. What next? Well, here's the thing. Since this is a SCORE program, I'm simply an invited guest speaker. So here's the thing. You're going to get an email recap from Dr. Thomas' team at SCORE. And all you'll need to do is respond as prompted. That's going to dial you up to actually be assigned to your initial SCORE mentor. And I would encourage you to do that. Take advantage of that support resource. And then that'll move you forward along those lines. If you would like to leverage our SBDC, I'm going to encourage you, go ahead and do that. So really, it's going to be very simple. You can drop me a direct email if you want and let me know you were on this call and you'd like to be an SBDC client. I'll respond and give you the guidance. The first thing I'm going to say, though, if you just want to go ahead and do it that way, is you need to go to our statewide operational website for our statewide consortium. You see that here is just sbdc.com, and you just need to register. But be sure, since you're on the front end of starting a business, I would encourage you to register as a pre-venture. Even if you've technically set up an LLC already, register as a pre-venture. Why do that? Well, here's the thing. If you're on the front end, I would rather you come in as a pre-venture. That way, we'll make sure you didn't miss anything. And if you come in, register as a startup, sometimes we might not look back far enough, closely enough. So if you do that, we'll make adjustments as you progress in the process. So it's as simple as that. And again, but if you would email me, that would be great. Just let me know you were at this particular meeting, this particular Zoom meeting, and that you would like to become an SBDC client. And I'll make sure you don't have to sit through this experience again. And I'll truncate that and make sure everybody knows you've had the required elements of our initial session for pre-venture here in our SBDC. Here, and then we'll expedite you through that. So that's it. I will, again, I'll just invite you, Dr. Thomas, and then I'd invite all attendees. If you want, this is optional. I would say this is the only time you'd be working with us in this way that you're not the only client in the meeting. So if you have questions or comments about your project specifically that are a little sensitive, I'd say just time and place. Keep those in your pocket for now. And we can jump into that when we're in a follow-up consult one-on-one. But if you've got any comments or questions that you feel like is fine for public viewing, I would encourage you just jump in now and we'll share and we'll clear those out to the last one, and then we'll get out of your way. I do like to end with this quote. And in here, this is what we advocate. This is being a strategic manager of your business, and we strongly encourage you to do that from day zero. Now, begin with the end in mind. What are you trying to accomplish at the end of this thing? I don't care how old you are, what are you trying to accomplish at the end of this thing right now? And then plan backwards to where you are and what your current situation is, and then execute forward with support. So to us, it's as simple as that. This is adopted from our friends at Exit Planning Institute. And it's also a spin off the old Kaufman Foundation, begin with the end in mind. But it's great advice for anybody looking to build a business that has staying power. And to do that, you're going to have to navigate some key wins that are very predictable, but definitely manageable. Thanks, guys. Dr. Thomas, I'll yield to you. And anybody, hey, if you guys want to come in, we'd love to hear from you. If not, that's the program, and we'll look forward to working with you on behalf of our friends at Piedmont Score and my teammates at our South Carolina SPDC. We appreciate you guys and wish you Godspeed on this adventure.
Hey, Ben, thank you. That's a lot of information, but obviously good and useful information. I do not see a question. Well, there is a question about a feasibility study which one of our attendees has completed recently. And the attendee is asking if there is another feasibility study that that person needs to do.
Well, whomever that is, I commend you on working in that manner to assess the project and drilling down on the feasibility aspect. So my thing would be this, I think just another arm's length. So depending on, the topics that you drill down and the protocol, your work, may be sufficient. I think another set of eyes behind it, to me, could only be additional value for your consideration. And then the other piece is if there are components that, we may look for when assessing project feasibility at different levels in progression of the project, if we see something that you haven't really, maybe you haven't considered, then again, that's another value added of awareness. See, I'll say it like this, nobody has an ugly baby. And so I've learned through the years, folks that have an idea and building the business around it, that's their baby. So it's always good just to get an arm's length view for consideration. At the end of the day, it's your business. Build it the way you want. But again, you're the risk taker, so you got to factor that in as well.
There is another question about how one can get access to the assessment now.
Yeah, to the assessment
And
now.
yeah, I'm assuming it is the feasibility assessment.
Yeah, well, the easiest thing, honestly, the email. So if you guys are on the call, you're already registered. You registered. This is a SCORE program. I'm an invited speaker and really honored to be. So I would follow that email recap from SCORE. That's going to give you access to a live person, a mentor. You'll be assigned. And if you want, again, to surround yourself with complimentary support, we'd love to have you. So all you'll need to do is you just register at our website. I'm painting my cursor over, and I would do that as a pre-venture, and you'll be assigned an SBDC consultant, and just show them what you've got already. Show them what you've got, and then again, if nothing else, you're going to get arm's length view suggestions on the assessment and for your consideration. And so, and if you guys, if you'd like to connect with our SPDC through me, again, just touch me at my email, which is just Benny S. BENNYS at Clemson.edu. But if you do that, remind me you were in this program with myself and Dr. Thomas of SCORE. And then I'll understand. I don't want to make you live through another version of what I just threw at you, because that first part's kind of required viewing for us to get started. So I can truncate that. You've done that. We don't want to take that time away from your life again. That's for sure. Yeah.
That's all what I see right now. If there is any more question, please feel free to put it in the chat box. or unmute yourself and ask the question. We'll be happy to take the question over audio too.
Okay.
Well, since there are no more questions, Ben, I think we'll end the recording here. And thank you all for attending this webinar. And watch out for the recap email. And have a good rest of the day.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys. And hey, since I was a guest speaker, I'm going to take liberty and say I like to close all our meetings up here in the upstate with two very important words: Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. That's good.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. See ya.